Welcome to Reflection Tuesday. I want to talk about Matthew chapter 27, verses 3 through 10. It's about Judas's remorse once he realized the true motives of the Jerusalem leadership. Now, Judas naively seeks to return the 30 pieces of silver in hopes of either being forgiven for his sin or perhaps obtaining the release of Jesus. And you know what? The leaders do not care, for they have Jesus in custody and already sentenced to death. Their reply to Judas is, "You're simply going to have to live with yourself." And he does. He discards the money in the temple courts and then goes out and hangs himself. Picking up the money that Judas threw away, the leaders' consciousness awakes, and they know the money was used to hasten Jesus' death, and therefore could not be put into the ordinary temple fund. It was blood money. Now they confer together and they decide to purchase a field for non-Jews to be buried in Jerusalem. There are two items in Matthew 27, verses 3 through 10, that are difficult to harmonize with other biblical texts. First, Acts chapter 1, verses 18 through 19 has a different perspective on Judas's death and the money he received. That account makes Judas's death seem like an accident, and it also has Judas purchasing the field rather than the Jerusalem leaders. The second difficulty is with the prophetic text that Matthew mentions. He gives reference to Jeremiah. And while Jeremiah does, in his long letter, mention silver pieces, a field bought for 17 pieces of silver, and a potter, you can find all this in Jeremiah chapter 32, chapter 18, chapter 19. The text really seems to echo more of Zechariah 11, 12 through 13, because he mentions 30 pieces of silver and throwing them down at the potter. Now, Zechariah 9:14 does have messianic overtones, but there's still nothing exactly that fits our situation here in Matthew 27. There are many explanations for the above difficulties, but I'm not satisfied with any of those. Now, for those who insist on dotting every I and crossing every T, such biblical difficulties cause heartburn and needless hours of harmonizing. Now, if we go to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 16 through 17, it does say that Scripture is God-breathed or inspired by God, and it's able to teach, rebuke, correct, and train. And the goal is to equip the person of God for every good work. Now, if you know the exact cause of Judas's death, and if you know the exact point that Matthew is trying to make with his Jeremiah reference, is that really going to prepare you, equip you to do good deeds? Do not miss the key point of Matthew 27, 3 through 10. And that point is the Jerusalem leadership is callous beyond repair. Judas's remorse and confession only make them more hard-hearted. So being at the religious center of God's people and having Scripture memorized does not guarantee purity of heart or the spiritual insight to recognize God's biggest work, which is Jesus. Jerusalem's leaders followed the minuscule details of the Torah all right. That's why they don't put the money given to Judas into the temple treasury, lest it be polluted. However, they had no concern or insight for the weightier matters of the law, which is justice, mercy, and humility. Let's you and me be very careful that our devotion to details does not blind us to what matters more with God: justice, mercy, and humility. And certainly, woe to us if we are callous to the confession of a great sinner like Judas. Until next time, God bless.